All right. Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of At Witt's End. I'm Ken. That's Carson.
Hello.
Yeah, we're, 9 hours difference, 6,000 miles away from each other. What is it?
No, you
Time changed. 8 hours
yeah,
difference.
I didn't even know it was a time change in the
I
US,
didn't
but
either until we got up this morning, and I'm going, everything seems weird. Did I sleep in or something? And found out it was daylight savings time. And I was wondering if I remembered Austria doesn't do it. It's different.
well, Europe is it's 2 weeks from now is the time change.
Which seems weird. You think globally everybody'd say, hey, let's do it on this day. But
It's not even that in the US. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
everyone
Yeah.
changes
Arizona
their
does
time, but
yeah.
Arizona doesn't.
Yeah,
And
Arizona does their own thing. So, yeah.
Guam.
And that's always the thing that comes up politically is should we all go back and just do what Arizona does? But that's a whole different subject.
Yes, is my
We're
answer.
going to do a episode today. You've done some events of the last couple of days or week. No, days. Yeah, so it's been
Days
somewhat
and week.
exciting.
Yeah.
But
But
before
first,
I get in, you wanted to say something or show
I
something.
wanted to show something, and I was coming back from somewhere and I wanted a bottle of water, and there wasn't like a lot of water options, and I wanted a tall bottle of water, like a big one. And I was like, oh, this looks cool. It's a glass bottle. It looks very tasty.
Yeah.
This is still water, right? It's not sparkling or anything. And I picked it up, and it's Thalheim Heilwasser.
Mm-hmm. That was like a
Right?
medical water.
Heal water. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the bottle.
All right, let me get glasses
And,
on. That's a glass bottle. I like
yeah,
the
it's
label.
a glass bottle.
And we should mention that too for those of you who haven't traveled in Europe. Still would mean just regular water with no carbonation. So when somebody,
if you can,
yeah, I can see it.
There it is.
Yeah.
So cool. It's cool, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds you of like a beer bottle, like, right? And they do make beer. They also make this water. It's called heal water, like healing water.
I noticed there's still a lot of water in there, so does it not taste very good?
It is the worst water I've ever drinking. And I don't know how, because Austria has this like incredibly good tap water.
Yeah.
Like Alpine water. This is the worst water I've ever had. It is so bad.
What does it taste like? Maybe it's alkaline water.
I don't have no idea. Like it's just water.
Does it taste like minerals in it?
No, it just tastes gross. Like it's not like it just tastes like they got it from a pond. I think that's like the gimmick around it. They got it from the Talheim, I think, is a town, and they bottle beer and juices and in this water.
Where's it at? Do you know?
No.
In the Lake District or something, or up the.
Let me see.
Alpine town.
So it is. Sorry.
Wow, you're
just
glowing.
Went very white on the. Yeah, it's near Linz. It's not far away. It's just near Vels, which is down the
Linz is industrial, so it's probably contaminated water.
It's on the Tron TRAN river, which is a tributary that feeds some of the lakes around here. It goes into some of the lakes of the Lake District.
Yeah.
And
so it tastes like shit.
Just horrible.
Don't buy it.
Don't recommend. Don't buy. It looked cool, and that's why I bought it.
There goes any sponsorship we'll ever get by them.
Yeah, I mean, I just it's bad.
But before, we can't sponsor the water, but send us some of your beer. We'll try that. Maybe that tastes good.
Yeah,
so, it'd be interesting. You should ask some of your Austrians at work and some of the locals at working on the football team if they've ever had it, what the deal is.
Yeah.
So, but getting back to the subjects, two events.
No, go ahead. Yep.
One I watched yesterday while you were at it, and I got to say that one of the things that's great about technology, and I posted about, is you get the access to things you normally wouldn't watch. And let's face it, I'm not a big fan of women's basketball. I haven't been to a lot of games, but I enjoyed it. It was the Final Four of Austria, the
Austrian
Austrian
Collegiate
Collegiate
Sports League.
Sports League, and it was in Vienna. They were. It was the Astros against the Robots. So the Astro
So
women
the
jumped out to a big lead.
Yateu. Well, let's explain it first. Let me explain the event, right? Um, Also, I just want to note for the is the room you're in very dark right now? It's just I'm randomly pointing this out. You look very dark. I can
Well,
just kind
I've
of see
got
your head.
black jacket on, but I can
Uh,
give some natural lighting. Hold on.
it's it's okay, but I do want to just so while he's in, I'll explain a little bit about what it was. So, the Austrian Collegiate Sports League, the ACSL, has been going through their basketball season, and Saturday was the Final Four, what they call the Final Four event, and it's not just the Final Four; it's also the championship games. So they had previously had the Final Four teams for the women's side play, and the winners of those games played in the championship on Saturday. But the men's Final Four was actually on Saturday prior to the women's championship,
Yeah.
and then the men's championship was after the women's championship. But JKU is go ahead.
Well, I will say that it's the ACSL is they're basically kind of mirroring the NCAA, but on a much, much, much smaller scale.
Yeah,
They're bringing sports to their university system there. They have cheerleaders. I think what's the Astros, the Space Girls,
space dancers.
space dancers. So I find it interesting to watch and kind of into it because the crowd's into it. A lot of the
Yeah,
stuff is in English. Some of the cheers. There's music, so that, but it's on a more intimate. I would liken it to high school basketball at the old Arco Arena, kind of. You know,
but even
this,
smaller. It's
yeah,
it's
smaller,
like
but I mean, it's
it's like if they held so the upcoming state championships in California are actually being held at the arena in Sacramento.
yeah, Golden One,
I think they're next weekend, this coming weekend or
yeah.
something.
So
But it's
maybe
like
the state championship of Wyoming.
but in a smaller arena. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Where the people are very much into it. It's just the size and the scale of everything is
and it was sold out.
much
It was
smaller.
packed. You're a coach of
Yeah,
the football team, so you were able to get a ticket. But but let me ask you this: I wasn't quite sure. So it is JKU's first basketball season,
year.
correct, for both the
Yes,
men and the
correct,
women? But
correct,
there were basketball teams prior to this in the
correct.
ACSL. So how many years have they been playing basketball now?
The ACSL.
Yeah.
I think they started like 5 or 6, like so the beginning of the league itself I think was 2016, I want to say, or 2017.
Okay.
So they've been going for a number of years, but it's only been in Vienna.
Vienna. Yeah.
Um,
And they
it's
always they hold all the games in Vienna.
Yeah, yeah.
What
No,
the
no, no.
championship and the football games,
Yeah,
but the day to day games, if you have the facilities, they play at JKU as well, which you guys
yeah,
do.
yeah. We've had so now that they've introduced JKU to the league, they are having games out here at the our hall that we have a basketball court on, basically. But they do have games here, so it's the first games that are outside of Vienna for any of their sports. Yeah,
Yeah. So it was a started out where JKU jumped out to early lead the women's. Then it got
yeah,
tight. It was back and
yep.
forth, and then in the final, I'd say what 3 minutes they kind of.
Yeah, in the fourth quarter, they started to run away with it a little bit.
But I got to tell everybody, I was it was on the one of the national TV channels, OAP, I think it's called.
ORF.
ORF Sport. So it was broadcast
Yeah.
in Austria, but I think the second half they had the score reversed. So I kept seeing JKU scoring, but the robots, uh, their score was increased. And I was going, man, I don't know what's going on, and it's the announcing's all in German, kind of a
It's reverse
ESPN on a
basketball.
small scale, and they're throwing in words like I don't know German. I guess there's not a word for fast break. I mean, there would be, but they use the word fast break or sticking the dagger in. There were some terms I was kind of laughing at, but
Yeah,
not because it was. not because it was, you know, too hilarious, but it was just interesting to hear the broken English or some English
Well,
thrown
just
into the German
it's
broadcast.
woven into the
Yeah,
conversation. So it's like, yeah, you hear this a lot, especially at obviously these sporting events that are American, phrases that are American or English, right? That are so part of like the event, right? A fast break.
yeah,
There, basketball is an American English sport, right? So fast break and the term for it is in English, and there wouldn't be really a term like you could translate it
yeah.
into German, but it's then it
Schnell
kind of
something. I don't know what.
disassociates.
Yeah,
Yeah, it disassociates from the sport at that point. So they weave in into their normal speaking of the game, right, and describing of the game. They weave in these phrasing, and so you get this like kind of back and forth. And it definitely happens a lot more during like when they're talking about
yeah.
football or basketball, right? And they're doing
Well,
these
and I
broadcasting of these
believe those are
events.
the only two sports in the ACSL right now, or the two
Yeah.
American
Yep.
sports. And the other thing, most people, it's like that because all the university students speak great English. I shouldn't say all, but 90% of them speak better English than our university students. Come on.
I
Proper
mean,
English. Proper English.
I wouldn't say that necessarily,
So,
but they speak
yeah.
English enough to speak it obviously, and
The word that kept
they
coming up,
fine.
and you knew who they were talking about every time. Cinderella story, Cinderella story, and I'm going, they're talking about JKU.
Yeah, yeah,
So
and they
shout out to the JKU girls.
prior to the match they handed out the MVP award, which went to actually one of the TU, the technical university, which they played against the
The
Robots.
center,
Yeah, their star player, their
yeah,
center, who's definitely a very good player. And then the coach of the year, I think pretty obviously went to the JKU coach. But there was a lot of fun, hooting and hollering by the student section of the JKU
I would say they
about
were the
the
best of what I saw on TV as far as
well about
most boisterous.
the MVP, because the number two supposedly in the MVP race was number one for JKU, and she I think she dominated that game. Like she was the reason JKU like ran away with the game. And, like she was very good. Like she
Yeah,
was a very
I think
good
she's the one they
player.
interviewed at the end of the game. So,
Yeah, yeah. She stood out above the rest, and she's the reason they won that game. And so that was I was
and
like,
I will make a sexist remark because we're talking about the Austrian team. You can't really say it in the States, but they're very cute girls. I mean, they were having fun. I just enjoyed watching them. So,
yeah, random remark.
Sarah
But
Hooch,
um I will say too, they scored more points than the men's teams, which was kind of interesting. Um, and
yeah, what was the
I
final of the
think
men's?
I don't remember what the scores were. I know they scored more. So I watched the game prior to the girls' championship because it went late. So I saw the majority of that game, and it was they scored ended up with less than both teams on the women's. And it's funny. It was partially because like they put up more shots. The game was obviously much faster, but they put up more shots, whereas like the girl side had more layups and like stuff
Mm-hmm.
at the hoop, which is kind of interesting. Um,
Any
and
three
like
pointers?
yeah,
I
definitely
mean,
like
there were some in
they
the
just
women's
shot the
game, but
ball.
not a lot. Yeah,
Yeah, they shot the ball from deeper. The women actually, I think, had a higher shot
percentage.
percentage from three than the men's teams did, and the men's team shot a lot more.
I will say, it did
Um,
seem like the refs let them play a little more. I didn't see a lot of
yeah, there's
fouls.
in the men's game prior, there was a lot of controversy on some foul calls and
Oh, really?
everything. Yeah, they there's some like late game stuff. There was like a pretty impactful foul on a 3-point shot. They actually had a couple fouls on 3-point shots, and then one like no call, I think. Um, but there was some impact. It was kind of funny. And it kind of shows you how the sport is and how it's all organized. At the end of that game, it had taken so long and got on so late. The second semifinal game of the men's, which is before the women's, had gone so late
The ref had to
with
go home.
about a minute and 30 seconds left in the game. A ref had to leave. I think he had to go to work or something. They like there was a timeout, and I just see him go, and he's like rushing, grabs his jacket, puts his jacket on, grabs like his lunchbox or
He's running
something,
down the
and like
court during the game, looking at his watch the whole time.
he was doing that. He was looking at his watch. He kept checking the time, and then because they were going to the scores table a lot. There was some like foul controversy
Yeah.
with like guys fouling out, and at like a minute and a half left in the game, a new ref came on, and he had to leave. And, like I assumed go to work, right, or something.
Yeah, but that's
But
what I kind of
it's kind
like
of
about
funny.
it. It's more grounded. It's not big money. It's fun. In fact, what was I kept hearing the JKU won the community award. So was that like
Yeah.
the loudest fan base?
It's more of like a like there's like games that they have in between quarters and halftime, and they
So like
have like social
entertainment stuff.
media.
So okay.
Yeah, yeah. So they hold like fan games at halftime, just like kind of American. The one thing with it, it did make the games longer. Like the halftime and the in between the quarters was much longer than American sport would
Oh,
be.
the
Because
rapper
like
that they had come out, Kelvin.
yeah. Well, yeah, they had him, and then they also had like a marching band, like
Yeah, it
the
was funny.
small
They kept
marching
calling
band
it a marching
play.
band, but it was like a circle of. It was band members just kind
It's
of playing. They weren't
it was a
marching.
it was a jazz section.
Yeah, it was a jazz
Is
section,
more like it.
exactly. Which I enjoyed. I
Which
actually enjoyed that. So this Kelvin guy, is he lip
yeah,
syncing?
this
Because I mean, it, it's hard to tell.
no, he was
Okay,
singing.
okay.
I actually looked him up on social media because they posted like a thing about him. Um, he definitely sounds different in person than he does on social
That's
media, but that's
you're
that's
saying
the music
better on
industry.
social media.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
thought he was okay
But
there. I mean, it was
it was a little hard to hear. It wasn't The audio wasn't the
Oh,
greatest in the arena, but yeah. So but like during the quarters and the halftime and everything, like they had a lot of stuff going on. Like it was a lot of entertainment
yeah,
kind of stuff, and it took a long time because like you think like in between quarters for like in college basketball, there's no quarters in America, but here like at an NBA game or at no, it's like a couple minutes, right? And then
yeah.
they back to it. Like
And their
there's
commercial
like it's a
breaks.
short break. Yeah, it's a short break, right? It took like 15 minutes for some of the stuff, like, and then at halftime it was like a 30-minute halftime, and
Yeah, but you
it's like
pointed
it took
something
a
out
long
too,
time.
and it's like the football games as well. Jägermeister's a sponsor, and beer is sold. So I think you made a comment. Oh yeah, the guy's walking back with 10 shots of Jaeger, or
No,
everybody's
it's
double fisted with cans of beer.
I saw like a couple of guys. Ota Kringer is the beer. It's a Vienna beer, I'm pretty sure. And they were selling them,
But
cans of it,
I don't see
there was
anybody
just
getting
so
shit
many.
faced.
Um,
Nobody got out of hand.
no,
It looked like it was fun. I didn't see any.
I mean it was a pretty big mess in the hallway behind the arena,
Oh,
or behind the like outside.
what's a can of beer
And
cost? Do you know?
oh no, I don't
Eight
remember
eight
what it
euro,
was.
less than that.
No, no,
Oh,
less than that. Yeah.
oh, so it's not like a
Um,
U.S. sporting event where can of beer is
no,
12
no,
bucks.
not
So
at all.
I wonder what the
They
Jaeger
would
went for.
riot. They would riot if they did that. But yeah, I mean, like you'd see a guy walk back with like he's coming back and he's getting some for his buddies, but he's got like 8 cans of beer and he's
Yeah.
like holding them like on his chest, like walking back, right? And like he'll
So,
give
so
his
what you're
buddies like
saying
two of
is
them.
the woman in the snack bar serving the beer, or the beer bar, is not saying you limited to 2 beers.
No,
He's
no,
buying
not at all.
10.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that too. And then I also like, in his other hand, he's got like 4 shots in between each finger of like something they're selling over there.
With his
So
fingers dipped in the
it's a
Jaeger.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in between each like finger
Yeah,
is
he's
that
got
like
a
a
shot
shot he's
glass.
holding walking by. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's different, right? And there's like during the games, like the DJ is playing the whole time, and I don't know if it was during the televised games, like the DJ, like if you could hear the DJ music,
No.
but during the non-televised games, it is constant music, and like
Yeah.
it's a DJ like playing music the entire time. Um, so it's definitely a different atmosphere for sure, and it'd be cool if they'd kind of scaled up the arena a little bit more
Well,
to like a.
Yeah, it
you know,
kind of looked like
somewhat
a
proper arena.
huge convention hall.
It was
Yeah, so in
with
fact,
it
I was
was
going
with
to
like
ask you,
basketball hoops. Yeah,
the roof kind of looked like it was sagging, but I think it was just the angle of the
it's the
camera
shape of
onto you.
it.
Oh, that is
Yeah,
the shape. Okay.
it's the shape of the roof. Yeah. But it's like the seating, like they had a like 4 rows of seating on either side, and like stands, I guess you should call them, and then everything else was like flat on the floor, and then people just sitting on the ground. And it was standing room only, like it was hard to find seats anywhere, impossible to
Yeah, look
find
packed.
seats. Yeah,
What did
it
they
was packed. It
charge
was
for a
hard to see.
ticket? If you had to pay, do you know what they charged for a ticket? 10 or 10 euro?
It's 12,
5?
I think, for the
Oh,
most expensive, like the most expensive general admission, and then they have like student discounts and athlete for
yeah, yeah.
your student or wearing your
Right.
school's gear discounts. And they did have like a VIP section, actually, like half the other half, like behind the basket, was a VIP area.
Who would be in the
um
VIP? Teachers and professors or
Families,
oh,
businessmen. I mean, they had a lot of sponsors, so that was
any
um
Americans on any of these teams?
um I don't think so. No, I don't.
I still think
I don't think
what a
so at all.
great opportunity for a kid that, well, for you for football, but say for basketball, that comes out of high school, he's not going to go on and play in college, but was a starter for his high school team. I think he could do well there. Did
Um,
anybody on the men's team, could they see any dunks?
yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the majority of the players could done for the University of Vienna. Like they had the height of they were, so it's different for, so let me compare like football to basketball a little bit. So the football teams would lose to a high school varsity team. Like high school varsity team
Really?
would probably
Well,
win.
even, well, your high
Um,
school was a state champ.
Pretty good football team. Like a lot of varsity football teams would. I shouldn't say a lot. The top third would
Let's put
beat
it,
the teams here.
the Sierra Foothill Conference, which you played in.
Yeah, they wouldn't win a
That
game,
was a very good conference. So you're saying
especially now.
even what's the who was the champs of the or
The
UV?
University of Vienna.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so even that team wouldn't beat. I don't want to say who were on the
they
bottom of
wouldn't
the
beat.
Sierra Foothill, but
Well, they wouldn't beat Delaware, Granite Bay, Nevada Union, Oak Ridge, Folsom. Like those teams,
Oakmont,
Rockline, Oakmont, probably maybe.
Whitney in their
It's
first year.
interesting. Like there there's definitely a lot of like athletes and everything. I think it's just mostly a time on the field kind of thing. Like even for the teams like the University of Vienna, the guys who have played multiple years, like
Yeah.
at most you're practicing like twice a week,
Well,
really.
yeah, to
Whereas,
change to kind of transition, but staying with JKU. So, as I think if you're listening, Carson's a coach of the first ever
but
JKU football team. But the difference, it's like a club sport. You have 2 practices a week, and which Austrians would probably
yep,
be blown away that in high school here, there's a section during the year where you have 2 a days, 5 days a week, and films on Saturday, weight room at
we
5
had a
a.m.
we have a class during the school year for football.
Yeah, yeah. So
Like it's just a
I mean,
class.
it's much more intense. Um, but you guys just got your pads.
Yeah, well, I want to go back real quick because I
Okay.
will make a comparison to the basketball. The basketball teams for like the University of Vienna and the TU, the Technical University of Vienna robots, um, they could beat most varsity teams. Like my high school's varsity teams, they would win. Like the guys are
Wait, wait,
bigger, they're
wait,
faster, they're
wait.
stronger.
Go back to that because your high school. Well, you weren't a senior, but the year of the Twin Towers, they could beat that
Yeah,
team. Those guys
they could
were
get close. Yeah, yeah, they could get
ah
close to those guys. I mean, like the University of Vienna had guys that were that tall, like a couple of them. Like they
yeah.
had the height. The skill, maybe not. Like the pure shooting skill, um, they didn't shoot great. But like the athleticism and the defense was really good. Like high quality defense,
That
and
would
they
be
were very
really
athletic.
very cool
It's
thing
an
if you could
interesting.
have one of the teams like do a U.S. tour during their off season just to see how they compare,
Yeah,
or
it's
for
an
you to
interesting
have your
like
football team come and do a little training in the U.S.
scrimmaging. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting like comparison because you get a lot of athleticism with the team here, and they're bigger guys. They're college guys, right? So they're bigger. They've been in the gym and whatnot. They're fully grown guys, basically. Um, where they kind of lack in the raw skill and fundamental kind of thing of basketball, but like they make up for it in the hustle and the defense and the go
yeah.
go go kind of thing. Like
Which
the shooting still isn't, I think, was lacking a bit,
yeah,
but like
no Steph
running
Curry
all over
on
the
the
court.
teams.
No, 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 there wasn't a single one that was like draining threes like that. But yeah, they would definitely be competitive. Like comparison better than a high school or like the football to a high school in America is not as
So basically,
competitive versus
basketball
the
in Europe
basketball.
is much more evolved. Football is way behind American
It
football,
makes
and always
sense.
will be,
Yeah, and it
because
makes sense,
you can
right?
have a
Basketball is
pickup
easy.
basketball game pretty much anywhere in Europe. You're
There's
not going to have
basketball
a
courts. Well,
everywhere
and I want to even like basketball in Europe is
big.
dominating the NBA. Best three
Yeah,
players in the NBA right now are European. So,
and I've known
uh,
when I went to high school, I knew guys that went on to play in Europe, and women's basketball has always been big in Europe too. I mean, people sell out arenas to watch women's basketball. So Greece
yeah,
was always big.
I mean basketball is big in like Serbia and Slovenia and
Yeah, the Slavs.
those that area of country is
Yeah,
very or area of Europe is very good at basketball, and they produce a lot of high quality talent.
yeah.
And the
But
games that they have there are very good.
after watching that game, I am looking forward to your first season if you're still there, coaching, and hopefully your first win for JKU ever in American football. And something, if you play football here in the States, like youth football, you always know the new kid who hasn't played before because he's not as committed to hitting. Um, it takes, I think, a year normally before you're comfortable hitting another athlete. And I
It
think you did some
takes
Oklahomas in
Yeah,
one of your practices.
it takes a different color jersey, I think is what it actually is. It's
I
completely
don't
so
think
there's
so.
like there's stages to it, right? So there's like no pads and everything and you've never hit before. There's obviously coming with that. The first time you put on pads like is experience in itself. Like
Yeah.
there's obviously you've never hit before, you don't know how to hit. Like that's a big thing too, is just how to hit and how to take a hit.
Were they going head
Um
first in Oklahomas?
what do you mean head first?
I
No,
mean, were
not
they
in a
leading
bad
with their
way.
heads?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not. Yeah, that's a hardcore thing I'm very adamant about with him. That's what I use these drills partly is to teach how to hit because that's you want to teach how to hit
Teach her right.
properly. I mean, everyone
Safety.
knows nowadays the safe way to hit, and it's completely changed the game of football and how to hit properly. And a lot of people go away with these drills because they do have like repercussions to them, right? They're just all about hitting, right? But I think when we're doing this as a first time, teaching the proper way to hit in a drill where it's about hitting is very important, and you can get a lot of work done. And they're not hitting hard at this point. Like we're not hitting like they
Well,
don't
you've
know
been
how to hit.
to multiple university games in Vienna. JKU wasn't playing. The existing teams were playing. So a wide receiver coming across, did you see a cornerback lay him out or anything? So there's not that type
I
of hit.
saw I saw like hard hits, but I'd never nothing close to what you can see in a
Yeah.
college in America. Like not even close. Like the
What
pace,
about
the speed of the game is not there, and that's why I say it's more comparable to high school varsity because that's kind of the speed of the game is high school varsity, and you'll see some of the hits you see in the high school varsity game, but they're not as like there's not a frequent amount. Like it's just it's just not a frequent amount of
what
like hard
about
hits or
is
anything.
there any concern? You have two pretty good quarterbacks from what I've been told. any concern of them getting hit, or do people? Is there not the rush, or is there not? Are the
Our
linebackers not
yeah,
like?
our first big hit of our team actually came from one of our quarterbacks
Yeah, but he
in one
was
of
doing
these
the
drills.
hitting,
Yeah,
right?
he did the hit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was Oklahoma,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. He
Yeah.
was the first one to actually lay a decent hit. I kind of started for a lot of other guys. And granted, he's played football before. He's played like linebacker and
So
stuff. He
he's
knows how to
got the
hit.
year of hitting behind him, kind of thing.
He's got the 9 years of hitting behind him.
Okay,
Yeah,
even better.
yeah,
But I'm just saying,
yeah,
I still think it takes a season. And I guess luckily you're practicing. Your season doesn't officially start real games, till next fall.
yeah. October for us,
Yeah.
I think, is the first games. But yeah, I think it'll change. It changes as we get used to hitting against each other, but you really don't get the full, because when you're hitting your teammates, it's different than hitting a different color jersey, a different team on the field, right?
Hmm.
Like there's a different mentality that goes into it, and especially a lot of the guys like on our team like are a lot of talk, right, and they're really wanting in it. I think there's a little extra something in it because it's like the first team outside of Vienna, and
Yeah.
like all the
Yeah.
other teams are kind of one group, and then
Right.
there's JKU, right? So there's
Yeah.
like this kind of thing that is against
Good thing they
the
got a
rest of
good
them.
coach, because they're going to need it to take the
Uh,
championship, or what do they call it? The Summer Bowl next.
the
Not
Summer
this.
Bowl.
Yeah. But
Um,
yeah, for me, I grew up in a time where you were hitting hard at practices. I remember Oklahoma's against teammates, and you wanted to impress the coach and make the team get that starting spot. And I was kind of a little guy, so they always put me up. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a hard hitting running back
and
and
it's
you go
funny
head to
because
head.
like yeah, that's the stories you get out of, and now we kind of know like what that does and
Yeah,
everything,
yeah,
and all the guys that played in those systems, like the Paul Bear Bryant,
yeah.
in the the system
The
Oklahoma,
age of the Raiders. Let's put it there. The
right,
bad boy Raiders. Oh,
that
yeah,
era of football, right, all those coaches that played in those systems
yeah,
are now coaching, right, and they're the legends of coaching right now, and they're like, yeah, I would never put my team through that. This is not good. Like
yeah.
they don't do it at all, and
And the
you
ones that are
definitely still
coaching
see
are the
it,
ones
right?
that don't have the spongy brain material. They're able to
Yeah.
still coach.
And
So
you definitely still like you can go on YouTube and find modern day Oklahoma drills. Like it's definitely happened, but like that used to be a daily thing with teams, and it's just like it's like a really hype thing at practices now. It's a really
yeah,
like there's the one I
it's
saw
more of an
from like
emotional
LSU.
charge. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
pumping the guys up.
it really gets like a team going nowadays when it happens, and that's what I kind of did like when we were doing that in our drills too. I almost lost my voice because I was yelling so much and trying to get everyone like motivated and trying to get into it and showing them like what this effect is, because it's not necessarily about like I think that's the whole thing with it. It's about hard hitting and hyping everyone up, the
Yeah.
emotion of it, and getting all that into it. And I was trying to show them like that, to that effect, like what this is and what these drills are for,
Who was the kid that
alongside
you
the hitting.
said was a little bit? You see a lot of potential in, but he was a little bit restrained, and you helped him out and showed him how to do it.
Oh,
And then,
he's this I think Hungarian Austrian kid is
great, like him
um
already. You have to tell me
and
what number he is when he gets his
his
jersey.
name's Adam, and he's kind of a class clown kind of guy, but he's like he's a gym guy, so he's big and strong. He's our middle linebacker, and I was basically just like he was sitting on his heels and letting the running back come to him when he would hit him, and I was like, you cannot do that. Like as
No,
especially as a linebacker, like this is you need to meet him halfway, basically. Just like
you guys need to
you
get
know,
Siebes over there do some of his linebacking clinics.
yeah, yeah, like that. So I was just like, look, when he picks where he's going, you meet him in that hole,
Yeah,
and you go to him. You don't let him come to you,
meet him
right?
before the hole. Yeah,
And so I stood with him during the drill, and once it went, the running back picked, and I basically pushed him into the direction, and he met him halfway, and he just ran over the running back, and he's got definitely the size and the ability to lay someone out, which he did in this case, and it got much better for him from there. Like he's starting to learn how to fill a hole.
Yeah.
This is kind of like a issue we've been having is I won't go into it now, but um we haven't been able to run a lot of like run game
Yeah.
and practice like defense and offense against it. And so that was kind of a first experience for him filling a hole with
Right.
a running back coming at him full speed. So
But it's
it was
kind of
good
like, man,
to show him that.
you make a hit like that, you pancake a guy. It's, it's like hitting a home run. It's just that feeling that you did it right.
Yeah.
Everything comes together at the right point,
Yeah. When
pops
it
him up.
comes together, yeah. When it comes together, that's the good things. But
So good. Don't want to spend too much time on that. I mean, so congratulations again to JKU. Looking forward to the new season. I hope that OF is what's the TV channel for
ORF,
ORF. I hope that they
they do have the
broadcast.
football.
They do broadcast the football games.
Not, I don't know about the regular season, but they do the summer bowl. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to tell them they need to do the regular season.
Yeah.
Because let's face it,
Yeah.
Austrian TV has a lot of stuff that is kind of filler. This would be great. They could fill up a whole day's worth with all the games.
Well, sport in Austria, like Austrian sports TV, is definitely a lot different because it's
A little
not
more skiing.
baseball, basketball. It's
Yeah.
skiing and handball and field hockey and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like and more skiing. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of skiing that gets shown, especially during the winter.
Well, good.
But yeah. So speaking of Austrian sports,
Yeah, you have another event you just came back from. There should
yeah,
be a
literally.
hint for the viewers watching on YouTube. Something around your neck. There it is. It's
The LASK match.
yeah, LASK LASK stands for Linz. I don't know.
Do you know the
I
Linzer Athletic Sport Club?
okay. I'll club with a K.
It's the yeah, it's the soccer team for Linz, the football team for Linz, the big team.
And they just built
Number
a new
3.
stadium.
Yeah, so yeah, they just opened. This is their second Bundesliga match in their brand new stadium. Very nice arena. So first impressions of the stadium, it's a hike to get to, literally uphill, and it's rather annoying. But at the stadium, so first impressions from the outside, it looks very cool. It's modern. It's kind of silver and shines nicely. And
Where's it
looks
at
like
in
a
town?
modern
Is it
arena.
down by the river or out by IKEA?
No, it's
It's
on
on
a
the
hill.
city side, right?
It's like a 20-minute walk. Yeah, it's like a 15 to 20-minute walk uphill from the Hoppenhof, the train station.
Oh, okay.
So, but like, yeah, kind of to the north of the city,
Yeah.
I guess. So it's not super far. There's buses to it. There's a lot of buses to it. There's no train to it, like street train, tram to it, which is a little unfortunate. But it's right next to the ice hockey arena, so there's already an arena there, and yeah, that's where they built it. It's like I think it seats. They said like 22,000 or something like that. It's over 20,000.
And this
Around
match was
20,000.
sold out. Probably the last. I mean, since it opened, it's probably sold out.
Well, so it wasn't for the previous match. So I just real quick about the arena. My biggest annoyance is the entry into my section and whatnot. An entry into the arena is kind of annoying. Like, just finding your way. I'll just say that. Finding my way to where I'm sitting. Like, I knew where I was going in the stadium, but how to get there, like, like, you had to go around a certain way to get to it.
Is there a lack of
And you can't,
signage or something?
yeah, and partly just to the new stadium. Like, there's still a lot of stuff they're working on, all the details of the stadium. But you can't like walk around the arena. Like the arena is sectioned off. It's
Oh,
not
really?
like American arenas. Yeah, where
Was
once you're
that
in the arena,
because
you can go to
of
any
the
the away
typical?
fan section.
Yeah, is it because
Yeah.
of the
Well,
fights that
so
break
it's
out?
yeah, it's multiple things. So it's the away fan section is completely walled off from the home, like any home fans, and it's barriered to like in the seating as well. So it's just completely walled off. So yes, that is part of it, and then also the business area, the club suite section.
Mm-hmm.
So an entire like the entire sideline opposite from where I was sitting where the players sit is all the business club and the suites and everything. And so at all the like football stadiums, the business club people have their fancy restaurants and indoor bars, and it's all indoor behind their seats, and they
Hmm.
come out right as the game starts, and they go back in at halftime, come out right as the second
Yeah.
half starts, go back in at the end of the game. And um so that also sections the stadium off in
Huh.
a significant way, and you can't get into that area, you can't walk through it. It's because it's all indoors and everything, it's completely sectioned off from the rest of the arena,
It,
so you have to go in certain entrances only.
have you ever figured out why they have the teams on the same side of the field?
Because there's only like a few players, and it's a big field.
Yeah, but like in football, American football, and I think in high school soccer here, it's each team has their
No,
own sideline, don't they?
not in high school soccer.
Oh,
I think that's more because of American football, but when you think about a soccer team, a football team, a football team, there's not a lot of people, right? And the field is huge, and
well,
they
they
go
do
in and
have
out of the same
cushy
entrance.
covered seats for those
Yeah, and that nice
softies.
seats.
Yeah.
But no, it's just that's where like you go in and out of their entrances. It's just one entrance in and out.
Hmm.
The locker rooms are all there. You don't need as much as like an American football team is. Like an American football team, not only you have like an NFL team, you have 53 players, but you have a ton of support staff and
Yeah, they cover
non-players.
the
It's like
sideline.
an
Yeah.
incredible amount, and then you have like all the press and everything. Like you don't have that for European football.
Right.
Like
Right.
it's just not
Hmm.
nearly as many people, and so you just don't need to have them on the sideline. Plus, they internet it from the same side, so um, it's just
So getting
plus
back to the stadium,
there is like a fourth referee over there too. So the fourth referee that answers questions for like the coaches is also on that side.
yeah.
Um,
Stadium wise, bathrooms, snack bar is all good.
um, I didn't use the bathroom. I actually didn't buy any food, but from what I saw, there were very long lines. But that was
Really?
like at the start of the match. So I think they're still doing a lot of the like logistics of it all. Like
Renovations,
there's still
yeah.
a lot going on. Um, and the season this is either the second to last game or the last game for Linz
Yeah, so
on
why
this
put
year.
everything into it when it's going to
So
be
they're
off
still working
season?
on a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, yeah. So they're still working on a lot of it. Um, but like overall, it's a nice stadium. I've seen inside of the business area, like in the club sections,
Yeah.
looks super nice.
Do
But the
they
one
do
thing
the
I'll
whole thing
say,
with like buffets and roast beef? You know,
yeah,
if you're,
yeah,
oh, okay.
it's restaurants and bars
Schnitzel.
and real. It's super nice. It's a huge upgrade from their old stadium. Huge upgrade, like massive upgrade.
Yeah.
Um, and but I will say the business club section was 60% empty.
Wow.
The rest of the stadium completely sold out. And something I read is this is the most fans that have attended a soccer/football match in Linz since Linz beat Inter Milan in a tournament game in the early
80s.
90s
Oh,
or late 80s, something like that.
yeah. Because I think that's when
With
Inter Milan was big, right? Back in the 80s and 90s.
they're still big, still one of
Oh,
the big clubs. Them in AC Milan, but yeah, Linz beat them in like a European tournament in 1-0 in Linz back in like the 90s or 80s. And that was the last time they had this many people. It was like 18,000, and that's what they had. That's what they had today.
so
But
what
every
was,
section outside of the business sections were sold out. And one thing I don't know, so in English, I know in English football, they if you're in the club section, so I have gone to the Tottenham club section, so I think you remember that.
yeah.
Um, when the game is on, they pull down shades and you cannot watch the match from inside.
Oh, you
At
have to
every
go out.
single, yeah, you have to go out. So at every single stadium in England, you have to go out to watch the match. I don't know if that's the case. Like I saw massive TVs inside.
Oh, so
Um,
it'd be like a
the
suite in the U.S.
yeah, and like they have this big atrium. It looked like, and I saw
Yeah.
massive screens in there.
I kind of
and
like the
it looked
idea
like they
of
were
making them
showing,
go out into their seats, which is I
yeah,
get them
and
participating.
and it was very cold, so there's that other part to it. But I don't know if they have shutters and everything, and don't show the match, because also in England they don't show the match on the TVs. So if they showed the match on the TVs
Yeah,
and it was warm and they have food and drinks like they have, I could see people just sitting in there in this really nice area,
yeah. So
and
you've got to
so
find somebody that has access to that, so when they don't go,
yeah,
you
I
can
I
get the
want to
tickets.
see,
Or Pro Two Future
yeah.
needs to get some tickets. So,
Yeah, I want to see what it's like. It looks very nice, but I'm curious if it's like the English ones.
so I haven't
Um,
even asked who won the match, and it was against Salzburg, which
yep.
you've seen
So it was
quite a
my
bit of.
third time in a row, third time in three or in 3 weeks seeing Salzburg play, which is not by
Choice.
choice. It's
Yeah.
just by happenstance of who the teams are playing. And if you don't know, Red Bull Salzburg is by far the biggest, and I don't know about the biggest, but the best and the most well-known club in Austria, because they play in the Champions League often. They play in the Europa League. They win the Austrian Bundesliga all the time,
And they're
and
Red Bull.
they have the most money. Yeah, Red
Yeah.
Bull injects them with a lot of money, and money in soccer means you get to buy bigger players and better players. So a lot of times that helps you win, right? Biggest teams usually
That's
win,
not unique to
and
soccer. It's, yeah, common. And
yeah,
yeah.
but there's no like salary cap like there is in other
Oh, really?
sports. Yeah. So you can just spend if you really have it and it's in your budget. Um Now, yeah, so Red Bull Salzburg have just a bunch of money, and it's typically why they win. They buy better players. Like they had Erling Haaland before he went to Dortmund and Manchester City now. They've had a lot of guys go to the Premier League and to the German Bundesliga, because they're one of those feeder teams that feeds a lot of big clubs around the rest of Europe, and so they get a lot of money from transfers for players. Um, but I digress. They're always good. They're the top of the league this year. Linz LASK is number 3 in the league this year, so they're not a bad team. Um,
Where's
but they
Red Bull?
lost. They lost 2-0.
Oh,
Red
2-0.
Bull's number one.
Number one.
Yeah, they lost 2-0 to Salzburg. They played them 0-0 in the first half, and LASK had a lot of chances. And then the second half, they just kind of fell apart. Like Red Bull came out playing really well, dominated ball possession on their side of the field, and got 2 goals in the second half to win. Um, I will say I was front and center, because I was in the fourth row of kind of a corner section of the field, but the fourth row near the field. And right in front of me, there was a pushing, shoving, and shouting match among all the players and referee.
Oh,
So that
really?
was exciting.
Did
Yeah, that
you
was
videotape
exciting.
it? No.
I did. Yeah,
Oh,
I
good.
did.
So
But
wait, what section were you in? I mean, I think you were rooting for
I was
LASK.
in
You're wearing the LASK
N
scarf, but you were in.
N6, which was right next to the Salzburg section. Now separated,
Oh, so
right?
you were in the last sex, LASK,
Yeah.
not last, but last
Yeah.
section, and so
Yeah.
you weren't the only guy with the last scarf sitting in a Salzburg
No,
section.
there's only a small section of Salzburg fans.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
those, but it's so close.
Yeah, but it's like you can't get tickets in, like,
Oh,
I should say that. It's not
hard.
common for like Salzburg fans to be integrated in the last fan sections and
Mm.
everything. Like unlike most American sports, like, so this is also a big difference in American sports. Like teams, like fans of the other team, visiting team, are just kind of woven into the rest of the
Wherever you can get
seats.
tickets, yeah.
Yeah, whereas in European sports, like you have designated sections, and they're pretty much walled off from the rest of the fans in the stadium.
Yeah, but
So, and I don't know an arena that doesn't have like a walled off visitor section, and there can be fans, like there were a couple Salzburg fans like spattered about, but it was usually like little kids. Like Salzburg has a, because they're Red Bull and they're the number one team. They're kind of like the Yankees or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Patriots. A lot of little kids kind of latch onto them, and
yeah.
they're the big name in Austria in terms of
Fair weather fans.
football too. Yeah, so you get a lot of those guys, and the Red Bull, right? So you get the Red Bull kind of fans. So you see a lot more like little kids wearing their stars and jerseys and whatnot. But like the adults are pretty much in the Red Bull
I just
section,
wonder
the
how,
visitor section.
you know, do they prevent people from buying tickets in the opposing team section? And how do they do that? By the
Yeah.
city on your credit card kind of thing?
Um, in like the Bundesliga, I think like in normal league games, I think it's kind of just like you're
Tradition.
wearing. Yeah,
You,
and like it's just
fans
like
don't want
a
to.
yeah, you just don't buy the tickets there. I know, but in like so I went to Rome to
Right.
watch Salzburg play against Roma, which is a Europa League match, so it's a European tournament. What they did for that is if you have an Austrian passport, you actually cannot buy the tickets outside of the Austrian section, outside of
Oh,
the Red Bull
yeah.
section.
Okay.
And they actually checked my identification going into the stadium, and I had to put my passport number in to buy the tickets
Oh,
in the
really?
passport country. Yeah, so they to buy the tickets, I had to put my passport info in. They did check my like ID there. I think it was just name because I had an Austrian ID card, and I was a
Yeah.
little worried
Oh,
because I
that
didn't
they.
bring my passport. I wasn't
Yeah.
bringing my passport to the game. I didn't want to do that, but I had my ID card in my wallet, and I was like, "Oh crap! Like, does this say Austria on it? Like, am I
Then
gonna?
it
Are
did.
they checking for Austria? And it does. Like, are they gonna check for that? But I think there was just name on the tickets
Yeah.
or something. And so I that was like okay. But yeah, at purchase they have you fill in your passport and
Verified
passport number.
residency. All right.
Yeah,
Cool. So good
but
match.
in
You
like the
enjoyed it.
lead, yeah, I think it's great for Linz. So it's kind of interesting in Linz. They're building two stadiums right now, or not. They finished the last stadium, putting the final details on it, but they're also building a stadium for the other team in Linz, the other major team in Linz, the Blau-Weiß, the Blue and Whites, who are at the top of the second league in Austria and gonna get moved up, I believe.
Hmm.
And it's interesting they're building two stadiums in Linz at the same time. I really don't know if there's any controversy or anything behind it, but I know I mean, I'm all for it. It seemed like all the fans were for it. Um, think they're trying to build the teams up to bigger levels and get more fans, get more um, money into the teams, get more growth with the teams, and
It is
just like any
amazing though.
owners would want
You
to.
have two professional teams in a town like Linz, and that's pretty common. Vienna has two teams. Um, in fact, next week's the derby
Yep,
between the two Vienna teams,
the Vienna Derby, which is a
which is
big
last game
deal.
of the season. Big deal. Hard to get tickets for. I think you said they have
Yeah,
like six left. So, oh, that's one thing I did see the pictures, and I've never. So they light off flares. Those are flares like a
yeah,
road flare, right?
yeah. They actually,
Is there
I
no
saw
danger in that? I mean, because at the
no,
F1
it's
races, they light
normal.
them off too. So, do they screen you when you go into a soccer match?
I think it's just a part of like yeah they do pat you down and everything, but they know they're coming. Like every match I've been to has had them. Every team everywhere.
Yeah, it's
But
just amazing to me because I'm looking at your photos you had. And, I mean, it's basically it looks like explosives. Very bright flames coming out the smoke,
it's a road
and I'm
flare.
thinking, yeah, it's a road flare, but you can't take a road flare to any event in the United States. And yet it's
No.
common, it's expected, it's enjoyed,
Well,
I
yeah,
don't
it's
know if
actually
you do you get them
it's
at the convenience
coordinated.
store on the way to the game. They sell the LASK colored flares or I'm sure it's green for the Rapid in Vienna or something.
No, they're all red so far that I've seen. Um, they both Salzburg and last lit flares off during this match.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, and they coordinate them right. They light them at the exact same time. And I'll say real quick, it was kind of interesting with Salzburg because it was the first time I was like up close to Salzburg lighting them.
Yeah.
The caps got launched and landed on the field to the flares. Like I don't know what the system is for
Uh,
the flares, but the
oh, how to
caps to
light
the
them?
flares, yeah, the caps to the flares ended up on the field,
So they
and
kind of explode,
yeah, they pop out, and it's a loud pop
dude.
when they light them.
If you go to the Rapid game next weekend, try and buy a flare. I just want to see one. Show us how it's lit.
But it was kind of funny too when I was telling you that a little scrum happened right in front of us. All
Yeah.
the little flare caps were on the ground there, and like all the pissed off players grabbed the caps and threw them off the field, like
Oh, really?
in frustration. Not at a player, like that would get them a red card
Yeah.
immediately, but
Just get
they
it.
saw
Yeah.
the
Through
caps
them.
and they chucked them off the field when they were like fighting with the other guys.
Yeah.
Just out of like frustration, they should let out a little frustration and throw something off the field. Um, but I wanted to say too, I because you bring up this American versus um, like European sport differences in the
Experience.
stadiums. Yeah,
Yeah.
experience differences. And the Flares is definitely one of them. And like the constant singing, right? So that's obviously I think like
Yeah.
and so I had two things I wanted to bring up. So one is this like constant fan singing. So both sides, doesn't matter what is happening in the game, they're always singing. That's at every game I've been to. It's a constant. And I
Well, see,
think it's
that's my first European soccer match was in Zurich. And the thing I remember is nobody sat down. There was a guy nearby with a big bass drum, and they sang and chanted the whole game. The,
and it doesn't matter what the situation
it does,
is.
yeah.
But
And I was just
it's
like,
so you were in the like the fan section. So in the normal sections, like the family and the
you just sit and
non-fan
watch.
hardcore, you
Yeah.
sit and watch, and you'll see on to some of the things. But in the like fan sections, they literally don't have seats. It's standing room only, um, and like they have
I'm
bars
too
to lean
old for
on.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like a young people section. But when doesn't matter like what's happening in the game, they're singing, and I think it's partly due to the nature of the game, right? So soccer is constant, like the time doesn't stop. Like
Hmm.
time doesn't stop, so you're constantly going and it's a continuous game. There's no like there's resets of the
Well,
ball and free kicks and
that's
everything,
been
but it's continuous.
that's been the excuse or the reason people state for the lack of immediate success of soccer in the United States is because of the lack of commercial time, sponsorships. You know,
Yeah.
that in the U.S. you get 5 minute break and $1 million worth of commercials. So
But it's soccer is a continuous and shorter sport. So it's 90 minutes of game time plus extra time with like a halftime and everything. So it's shorter than American sports. It's also continuous play. So there's no time for commercial breaks. So that's where like the constant singing and everything I think comes from. Whereas like American sports, all of them are segmented to
mm,
periods of play, like baseball, a pitch, uh, football play and the like a
well,
play is 6 seconds on average.
and
Basketball
it's
possession is
somewhat
segmented.
yeah, it's somewhat annoying in you go to an event, you pay big money for a ticket, and you've got those commercial breaks where there's a guy on the court with his hand up
Yeah.
and you're waiting for the game, but there's a Budweiser commercial on, so nothing's going to happen till that commercial's
Yeah,
done.
you can never do that here.
Yeah.
Like it's 45 minutes of continuous play, and that's part of a like it's very appealing to me of the sport. And like I get you're not scoring a lot, but like I like sports for the details of sports and the continuous play and like what is happening and like how you do have to play for 45 minutes straight and be on top of the game like
Hmm.
for 45 minutes straight for each half and play that way is cool. Like that's such an interesting part of sport where like American sports you kind of reset and basketball I guess is closer. Hockey is even closer.
Yeah.
But you get
Which
like
and hockey is in a global sport, at
yeah,
least for Europe.
but with those like you get line changes constantly, right? Guys are
Yeah.
going in. But with them you get time to think and like reset yourself and think about what you're gonna do for the next event. Whereas like soccer is kind of continuous and it's a
Yeah.
flow of the game. And then my final point, not as uh, interesting, I guess, and conversational, smoking.
Oh.
So my section was non-smoking, and I guess a family section. Everyone's smoking on the what you call where all the food is and everything.
Yeah, the
Everyone's
mezzanine levels
yeah,
or
everyone's
whatever they're
smoking on the
called.
mezzanine because like the seats are non-smoking. And I had mentioned to you at the Rapid game, I was being smoked. Like, everyone sitting around me was smoking, and so it's kind of miserable. Um,
And
and
to point
so
out, Carson does enjoy a fine cigar, so it's not
yeah,
like he's opposed to smoking completely.
yeah, I don't enjoy a cigarette, especially not when it's blowing in my face. And like a cigar, especially not a good one, is rather annoying too. But and at Rapid, that was constant. It was the entire match. Like I was dealing with that. It was kind of miserable. Luckily, I had a really good, comfy seat. I was shout out to Rapid for a super comfy seat, like the most comfiest seat I've ever sat in. But
Cushy.
at last, yeah, it's a leather chair. It's just a leather chair. It's nice. At last, they had no smoking signs, and there's just like I'm like sitting down like first minute of the match, I just see some white smoke come down. I'm like, breathe it in. I'm like, oh god, like I thought this was no smoking. Like I was hopeful, and they were kind of. I think they were hiding it because like it is no smoking. And that was different because like I'm so used to like now if the arenas like everyone smokes during the
You
entire
know,
match.
yeah, and that it is a weird thing in that there is the anti-smoking movement in Europe and in Austria, but the Austrians still
I,
smoke. It's not.
there's no anti-smoking
In fact, I'm
movement.
trying to remember when I was there last. Is there vaping?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, it's not as
Okay.
big as the US. There's no anti-smoking movement. And if you think people in the US smoke, they absolutely do not smoke. No
Oh
one
no,
smokes in the
no,
US.
by far not even
not,
close.
not
I
even
mean,
close. People
because if
vape
you're a
in the
smoker
US.
in the U.S., you're basically ostracized, and you've kind of accepted that you got to stand outside
Yeah,
in
it's
the
hard to.
snowstorm.
You're
Um,
just taking a break from work to go smoke. Like that's the only place that people really see people smoking. Like
you know,
it's
the
super uncommon.
I mean, I was raised during a time when Pan Am Airlines people still smoked on it, and then they moved the section to the back of the plane, which was kind of stupid because it's just cycles through. But I remember when your sister went to Richmond VCU, and she was shocked. And if you don't know, Virginia is the capital of tobacco,
Especially
plantations, and
Richmond.
yeah, especially Richmond.
That's where Philip
Still a lot
Morris
of
is.
yeah, and I think I've got my VCU jacket on today, but there was no smoking signs, but there were still people smoking in restaurants. It's not so much now. And then I remember being outside one of the dorms in downtown Richmond, and there were cigarette butts everywhere. And then in between classes, you saw the students file out between classes, light up a cigarette. So it was still part of the culture. What would that have been? 10, 12
10
years
years
ago
ago.
now?
Yeah, 10 years
Yeah.
ago.
So, but now I know it's changed. I don't think there's anywhere in the U.S. In fact, it's so hard in certain areas to find a place,
It's
a cigar
expensive.
lounge,
It's just
just to have a
expensive.
cigar. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's expensive. But yeah, you go to Austria, and
But
in a
it's
way, I
it's
kind of like it, but it's funny
it's
to me.
it's kind of funny too because Austria was one of the last countries
Yeah,
to allow smoking inside and like restaurants and stuff, and then they went like full all the way. And they completely banned it inside instead of like, and they tried something for a little while, and this was pretty recent too, like pre-pandemic, but pretty recent. Certain size,
hmm
you don't need to. You can have smoking inside, and so a bunch of restaurants were like trying to be as
expanding.
small as possible
Oh,
so they
small.
could
Yeah,
allow smokers still inside. And there was a lot of like stuff they could get around, and they had like smoke. They tried to do smoking sections,
yeah,
and that was where like if your restaurant is small enough, like the
yeah.
entire
Two
thing is a
tables in the
smoking
back.
section.
Oh,
Whereas like if you had a big restaurant, you had yeah like a smoking section. But then they just were like there were so many people trying to just weave around the law and just have a full smoking restaurant that they said screw it. And that was like a year or two. They
yeah.
just went full ban on smoking indoors. And so, like, you do get just a lot of people, like, walk outside for smoke and walk
Yeah,
back in. It's, like, constant.
but I
And it's
didn't.
still everyone smokes here
I'm
so
trying to
much.
remember at the Stones concert. Were there people smoking?
Yeah, right next to us, all around us, yeah. No, it
Oh,
didn't blow in your face,
was my
but there were
buddy
people.
Hobo smoking? No. Oh, maybe he
No,
was. I don't think he
no, he
was.
wasn't. No, no, he wasn't, no.
Okay.
I don't think so. He just had a bunch of beers.
And at like oh, what's the beer garden we always go to? Schweitzer House. Do people
Spicer
smoke?
House, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
there's
ashtrays on the
ashtrays
table.
on the table. Okay, so
Yeah, yeah,
Austria is a weird country. You've pointed out, especially after going to Rome, how clean Vienna is. That you've been spoiled, but there's certain things that are bizarre. And to kind of end it off of the smoking thing, like you can grow pot, but you can't harvest and smoke it. If I remember, it's a weird law. Like in California,
yeah.
we can't. I think we can grow certain amount, but for our own
No,
use.
California, yeah,
Well,
California, you have a
it's the opposite. You can buy it and smoke it, but you can't grow it, right?
for a certain amount, but
Yeah.
you can grow a certain amount, a
In
personal
Austria,
amount.
you can grow it, but you can't smoke it,
Yeah, yes.
which
Which,
is
yeah, you can go down to the store, you can buy the plant, or you can buy the seeds. Like this, there's stores with it. You can buy the weed, I think, too.
yeah.
But you just,
Because
I don't think it's legal to smoke it technically.
right, I mean,
Um,
down from the flat on Neubegasse is the weed place, and I
yeah,
remember going in
for the
there. They
plant,
were
just like right
just.
there.
It's just you're buying a house plant, or you can buy the seeds for the house plant. So I don't know. Just
I think I mentioned it to you. Like there was a guy sitting right next to me at one of the college football games in Vienna, just rolling up a joint and smoking it. So it's
a
very
student, kid,
accepted.
or old.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
student. Very
No.
accepted and normal. It's just I think there's just weird laws around it. I don't think like the police necessarily care about it.
No. Well, and that's the other thing. After, I don't think you went after the football games, and I think basketball games. They go to a club. There's after parties, right?
Yeah, yeah. After the
And I
final,
mean, pretty big, wild
yeah, at clubs they just
clubs.
have yeah, like pay to get in. After parties at all the after
So
all the
basically, the whole
college sports events.
section, like your football team was in that section, your guys. You'd go to the after party with them and keep drinking and party until 4 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
kind of
and that's
interesting stuff.
yeah, that's definitely a different part of like. Uh, I'd never seen anything like that at an American game or sporting event or anything. Like, never like. But then
Well, it's,
again, in like say Plattsburgh, for example,
you'd go to a
like
bar
you just
downtown
yeah, all
party.
the bars in college are doing that
But
and
you know
like
what they
having a
don't
party.
have, and I don't think there would ever be because it's not a car culture. Tailgating.
No.
You just go to the game early and go to the Jaeger booth and start doing shots, I guess, and
Yeah,
get a
and
schnitzel.
yeah, there's just because people don't drive to like
Yeah,
the like
there's
take
not
the
a car
train over
culture.
there.
You take the train. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's I mean they had like yeah you pregame drinking and whatnot and you
Yeah,
but that's where like you like here's the same thing but different like English football, right? They go to the pub before the match,
yeah.
drink heavy. I also see like when there's an away day, they're on the train drinking on the train, so it's just same thing, different way to do it.
Well, and to finish up, so the last stadium, is there anything around it like restaurants and pubs, or is it just
No,
out by itself?
it's
Okay,
by the other arena. It's kind of by like
gotcha.
there's a bunch of housing and everything. There's a couple like
Hmm.
restaurants, gas station, but not like nothing great. And that's it'll be interesting because the new arena for the other Lens team for the Blau-Weiß is on the river. It's
See, that's I
much
was about to say that would be
much
great, kind of near
closer.
the hot plots. You know where the electronica and all that stuff
Yeah, yeah.
is. If they
It's
put a
it's
decent sized stadium down there, man, that'd be fun.
so I don't know if you remember. There's a new bridge in Linz. It's down the way from the hot plots in the main area and the main street
Down or up, because they're building
downriver.
that bridge that goes into the mountain with the
Yeah,
tunnel.
not opposite, the other direction.
Opposite that. Okay,
It was
okay.
finished when you were here, like when we were first here. It's
Oh,
just a newer bridge. It's right next to that bridge.
yeah.
And
On the JKU side of the river
no,
or
no, on
the
the
old city?
Linz, the
Okay.
Linz side. So it's not really near the downtown, but it's much closer than the LASK stadium.
Well, you
And
know.
this is a smaller stadium. It's only like 7,000 seats or something.
Oh,
It's
wow,
not a big stadium at all.
wow. Could you see
More stuff around it.
if they elect me mayor of Linz, and I propose building a new stadium? When you go across the bridge from the hot plots, that area off to the right where we've sat and had a cigar and watched
Yeah,
the concerts
the big,
across from the big parking lot where
yeah,
they build the
where they have
restaurant.
a lot
Yeah.
of events at.
But
Yeah,
to put a stadium right there, oh, that'd be awesome. Kind of maybe an open stadium like Santa Barbara City's football stadium facing the
they have
Donau.
they have
That
a
would
lot
be
of
cool.
events. They have a lot of events there,
But they
though.
could use the stadium for that. Big concerts.
No,
Uh,
but I mean, like they have like the carnivals and the festivals
they
and
could
the
have it in the
circus and
stadium. So I'm just telling your fellow Linzers to elect me mayor. That'll be on my agenda.
yeah. Good luck.
So yeah,
As
a
be
non-resident.
you'll be the opposite of Arnold.
That's right. Yeah, out of shape old guy that has no talent and
Complete.
everything.
That takes himself
So
from instead of Austria to the U.S. You're going U.S.
yeah, I go from
Austria.
California to Austria,
Yeah,
become a politician. So
complete opposite of Arnie.
yeah,
But yeah, well, it's been a little bit a little longer than
yeah.
expected. So we'll
So
end this here. But yeah,
until
shout out
next
to
time.
the JKU women's basketball team on the big W.
Hmm.
Sad for the last men's soccer team, but
Yeah, but it
they're
was kind of
performing well this
expected.
season.
So
Yeah, and then shout out to all you listeners. Thanks for listening. If you made it this far, awesome.
yeah,
Hey, if you made it this far, we'll tell you a top secret code to comment on one of our. Give me a
we'll
word for someone to comment on one of our
yeah,
Facebook posts if you made it
we'll
this far.
send you a nice tumbler to keep your beer cold or your
If
coffee warm.
if you comment LASK LASK on one of our
Until they run out. Limited availability.
limited availability, but he will send you if you are listening this far in.
Yeah,
He's got some product for you. So
if we run out of the tumbler, I'll substitute a very practical gift.
oh, is this his
The
charger or something?
Yeah, well, it's practical in that it's a charger and bottle
Oh,
opener. Charger for both Android. I can't get the charging cord out.
and
And
iPhone.
Apple. Yeah, so just plug it in, USB port. There's the camera. Got the
All right.
charger for Apple and Samsung. So, all right, till next
LASK
time, guys.
LASK on one of our social media posts for free swag.
Choose till
You made
next
it this
time.
far.
Yeah, talk to
So
you
we'll
soon.
sign off from here.
Listen.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.